Late afternoon, Dong-Su was in Chief Inspector car driving out from the airport. Chief Inspector asked him if he was not good enough to accompany a hunter like him, but Dong-Su said the speed the inspector was driving, he would have gotten there faster by running. He wanted to know how his brother funeral was, and the inspector started to say that they couldn't get his body, and the funeral was held with an empty coffin. He asked if Dong-Su wanted to visit his grave, but Dong began to say that it didn't matter how his brother's funeral went. He wasn't interested in dead people. He was only interested in his brother's scraps, so now he heads to the dungeons to find the guy who killed his brother. Dungeons are a must for hunters, and the number of open gates in Korea was very high in the 21st century. It's not a problem to find someone who's going through the dungeon. Jin Woo seems to have just gone into the dungeon. The rules inside and outside the dungeon are completely different, and no matter what he does with it, it's none of his business. At this time, we were already inside, and it was eerily cold. All of us didn't realize where we were, for it didn't look like dungeons, and even the gates were gone, which were literally just behind us. But I didn't feel anything suspicious about the place. I thought that these gates had simply transported us to this world, but something had gone wrong. Suddenly, I heard something approaching us with my dexterity. However, I was able to dodge an icy arrow that was close to the face of my sister's friend, who had gone with me on this raid. Some arrows did hit the target, and the guys who came in with us with frightened faces started yelling that it was an ambush and everyone needed to duck. But I noticed that there were snow elves visible in a tree not far from us, but from that distance, I didn't even sense their presence. Those who had not encountered them used the term snow elves, those who had already fought them. However, used a different term in contrast to such a beautiful name as elves. Observing their relentless pursuit of hunters, they were given the nickname White Walkers. At this time, the head of the White Tiger Guild arrived at the site, and as he approached his hands to the gate, he realized that it was tightly closed. This became a problem, and the head began to ask his subordinate if the gate was C rank. The subordinate replied that, yes, it was. He also asked his subordinate if he had summoned the Korean Hunter Guild. The subordinate replied that yes, he had summoned them, but they pretended to be stupid and claimed it was just a low-ranked gate. The head of the White Tiger Guild understood that they were bastards because red gates only appear in higher-ranked gates, and they say it's magical energy coming from another world. Behind this gate, just judging by rank is a terrible mistake. The gate in front of me is at least below rank and possibly even a rank or higher if we are unlucky. But I asked the leader if they should measure the gate with their magical energy meter. He replied, that magical energy, and in their current state, they could not figure out the rank of these gates. The head of our guild asked how many people were inside, but the subordinate replied that 12 people went in there. The head asked how many of them were high-ranked hunters, but he heard that where was only one a rank hunter as captain and 7 ranked hunters. They don't know if the recruits who went in there will be okay, because gates can be either a rank or B rank, and the chapter rules out the possibility of an S rank gate that could lead to a national emergency. And even if it is an A rank gate, it requires at least 3 A rank hunters. But if it is an A rank gate, it requires at least 1 S rank hunter. So if it's an A rank gate, everyone inside can be considered dead already, and if they're lucky, maybe 2 or 3 B rank hunters will come back alive. But the subordinates began to say that there were actually 2 more people inside who weren't part of our guild and 1 hunter he'd recently looked up to, and the head began to ask what rank this hunter might be, A or B, but the subordinate began to turn his head, which means that there was an S rank hunter inside, but he said that hunter is an E rank. I was in this forest at the time and saw the guys who came after me die from the arrows of the White Walkers. I realized they were observant. They managed to find the 2 weakest hunters in our group. If this had happened a couple of months ago, that arrow would have gotten me, but I figured I'd kill them with my own hands. But suddenly the guy in the big outfit who was thought to be a tank started saying that it looked like they were greeting us with these actions. And he wasn't sure how many of us understood the situation we were in, but inside the red gate, we can't go back until we're all dead, or not. Dungeons lie hidden. The girl who came with me began to ask me what the red gate was. I began to explain to her that it was a special gate that connected us to another world, and once we went in, the gate completely closed and no one else could come to our aid. It's a place from which we can't get out until we kill the boss or until the dungeon itself opens. In other words, we're stuck